London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games fast approaching, the East London skyline continues to change. The Olympic Park in Stratford is unrecognisable from the industrial waste ground that the Olympic Development Authority and Atkins inherited in 2005. And as work progresses, the impact of the Games project is now being felt beyond Stratford, as London and the UK gear up for the greatest show on earth.
As we see the East End of London being transformed into London's next largest park, we see the ripple effect of that throughout the whole of London. We see Atkins' team look at the impact and influence on the places and the spaces and people of London through transportation consultancy, through looking at all the things you need to get people to the Games, for them to enjoy the Games and to enjoy the experience of being in London during the Games time.
The scope is huge, and it takes a company like Atkins, with its diverse skills and experience, to pull the strands of this massive and disparate project together.
Virtually every part of Atkins is helping our clients look at that and to capitalise on the impact that is London 2012, and to start the legacy, which is the economic and social and environmental transformation of a former, somewhat rundown part of Eastern London.
Rail, road and air travel planning are all part of the Atkins wide-ranging brief, and our role in the project continues to grow, broadening our working relationships with other key Olympic stakeholders. Atkins is involved with master planning around the world, in North America, the Middle East, Asia Pacific and Europe. It's this sort of experience we can call in to connect the infrastructure elements needed for the 2012 Games.
So as we move towards the final preparations for London 2012, and we start to address the impact on the spaces and people around the Olympic Park and their venues, we're starting to build on the relationships with our existing client groups that have responsibility to address the impact on air transport, on rail transport, on road transport associated with putting on this great show. These thousands of people that are coming into London. So a whole new group of clients are waking up to their role in delivering London 2012. And the relationship we have with many of these, like on the DLR for over 25 years, are now being brought to bear to help our clients solve their problems and play their part in London 2012.
Atkins' worldwide transport expertise takes in projects as varied as South Africa's new railway, Gautrain, designed to support the 2010 Football World Cup, the Dubai Metro and motorway widening schemes on the UK's M1 and M25. And it's been key to our success in the Olympic project. The DLR, or Docklands Light Railway, is a case in point, with Atkins' involvement stretching back over 20 years. The network provides rail links between the City of London and the east of the capital, including the Olympic Park in Stratford. Demand for its service has grown year on year and will continue into 2012. So DLR is working with Atkins to increase passenger capacity and expand the network to cater for London's Olympic guests.
DLR has been a catalyst for some very large-scale developments here, in particular the Canary Wharf development, which is an extension of the city, which in itself has put pressure on DLR and has led to the constant upgrading and extension of the railway. I think DLR is going to play a very key role in the Olympics.
As part of the current upgrade, Atkins has managed DLR's move from 2 to 3 carriage trains, an ambitious and complicated undertaking.
It involves platform extensions, 17 platform extensions, 2 completely new stations, viaduct strengthening works, and a whole host of ancillary projects such as depot expansions and signalling upgrades to support the running of 3-car trains.
The DLR Stratford International Extension has a terminal very close to the Olympic Park, very close to the main stadium at Stratford, and through services will run from Stratford to both Greenwich and Woolwich south of the river, and also to the ExCeL exhibition complex in the Royal Docks area. So DLR is set to play a very key role.
The Games will change the face of London, and as well as Atkins' involvement with the Olympic and Paralympic venues, a huge amount of work has been undertaken on some of the capital's best known landmarks.
So there's been considerable railway gain by removing all those barriers?
Well, this other diagram shows how people were crossing.
Oxford Circus is just one of these projects, overseen by Peter Heath, Atkins Technical Director for Public Realm Improvements. It's been a design process that has brought new life back to the heart of London's West End retail and entertainment area.
Well, I think all over London, the opportunity of 2012 has given us a chance to look at public realm from a visitor perspective in a way we've never had really in modern times. We know the world is going to be either visiting or watching us, and as such, all our greatest attractions need to be at their very best.
Atkins' diagonal crossing redesign of Oxford Circus, now known as the X Factor crossing, has been an instant success, reducing pavement congestion and breathing new life into one of the city's most famous landmarks.
Well, Oxford Circus is an iconic name and place, but unfortunately over the years the traffic and congestion levels, both vehicles and pedestrians, meant that people tried to avoid it because it was so unpleasant to be in. This obviously had to be rectified in the interests of both Regent Street and Oxford Street, and of course with the coming of the Olympic Games, the Central Line, which comes into the West End from Stratford, to and fro Stratford and Olympic Park, will be one of the great travel routes that people will want to use.
I think transport is obviously one of the things that connects. It's the things that draws the areas together, and with these additional links on the transport side, you'll see that it becomes more accessible, more people using it, driving up the regeneration even further, and that's going to cause us problems on the transport side, because obviously the transport is there and available to what's actually happening at the moment, but these additional trips that are appearing, it's going to be a whole different ballgame. So that's what we're needing to understand now, not only for the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games, but going on from that, all the legacy period, understanding how things and how themes and how travel patterns are going to change going forwards through to 2020 and beyond.
With rail services underpinning so much of the capital's transport needs, it's hardly surprising that we are working on behalf of Network Rail to manage large-scale infrastructure projects like the improvement works at Stratford, right next to the Olympic Park. Our rail work for the ODA, or Olympic Delivery Authority, started just after the Games were awarded to London and has grown ever since.
It's true to say that there are quite a lot of rail investment works and projects going on in connection with the London 2012 Games, and for us it all started back in 2007 when the ODA issued a tender for the design of the Orient Way depot, which is the set of sidings you can see behind me here. The Orient Way sidings, they replaced an existing stabling point that was actually on the Olympic Park, sort of splits the stadium and the aquatic site. And so clearly work couldn't start building there until the sidings were moved from there to here. So this really was a key enabler for the work on the main park to start in earnest. The design team involved took the outline design and challenged it and found ways of saving some considerable time for the ODA from their programme, and also some money as well, through largely challenging the existing design as it stood, removing the need for replacement of certain things like a footbridge and some other pieces of infrastructure that would have taken time and cost money. But they also were very smart in terms of how they looked at what was here before, which was an existing railway depot, and took every opportunity to reuse the sleepers, the track, and any other piece of railway material that they could find, and incorporate that back into the design of the depot as it is today. In addition to that, they also found ways of including some sustainability measures, in particular a windmill, and also put a green roof on one of the buildings. And all that culminated in not only an early delivery and an early commissioning of the depot, but also in the project successfully achieving a sequel award with a very high score of nearly 90%.
Of course, not all the Olympic venues are in London. Out-of-town locations like the White Water Centre in Broxbourne, some 20 miles due north of the main Stratford site, will create road traffic challenges as well. So sophisticated mathematical models have been created to map the increased traffic flow that these venues will create during the Games, overseen by the Atkins team.
We need to predict the impact of the Games, the Olympics, on the network, in terms of impact on roads, on links, on junctions, the delay it causes to the Olympic traffic. Now, the whole principle of all this is that we first have to build these mathematical models for base year, i.e. now, without the games, and then fine-tune them so that they work properly and they reflect what we see in reality.
Basically, I'm sort of the task manager for the micro-simulation modelling that's taking place for the Broxbourne venue. I guess the main thing is it's an unknown quantity. I mean, we are doing our best to predict what will happen, but there hasn't been that level of traffic activity before, so that's the main challenge.
Keeping traffic flowing can also be applied to air travel during games time, yet another of our vital areas of responsibility. The summer months of 2012 will experience some of the busiest ever periods of air travel across London and the South East. And to help the Department for Transport, we've been providing key advisory services and a detailed airport capacity assessment, predicting nearly 250,000 extra passengers for the Olympic and Paralympic periods.
Airspace is probably one of the key things. London is one of the most congested airspace areas in the world, and with all of these airports vying for space in a very tightly defined area, the additional flights and the additional traffic will be putting pressure on the London system in what will be already a busy summer period. It's the natural peak, and so we're actually adding an Olympic peak on top of the busiest time of year. So it's a very big challenge for the London airports, but our report is giving some very positive signals that the London system, assuming we all kind of cooperate and work together on this, that the London airports can actually manage the demand.
But once visitors do get here, the vast majority will have to access most of the new Olympic venues by foot. The Olympic Park is meant to be just that, a park. A public space during and after the Games. And that means linking the area to the surrounding community with constructions like this. A footbridge from Hackney Marshes direct to the stadium site, with a unique design that can be reduced in width once the Games are over, and continue to provide pedestrian access. It's a good example of legacy planning.
In terms of the bridges, all the complicated bridges are completed. They're been handed over to the ODA, they've been mothballed, and they're ready for the next phase of use, which is the commissioning events.
But even though this work is completed, there is still more to do for Hugh Corrigan and his team.
Building on the good work we've done so far and our knowledge of the park itself, the utilities, the contamination remediation works, we've recently commenced design work on the accreditation areas. And accreditation areas in its own right is quite a huge contract. Basically encompasses a lot of complicated security screening equipment and the infrastructure that supports them. Obviously we believe, and the client has told us many times, we've done an excellent job on the park. We've continuously built our original scope, and this is just an example of building on that good performance.
So, a massive project requiring a dizzying level of skills from right across the Atkins company-wide expertise. And as if that's not enough, it all has to be brought together with the global audience looking on.
Back in 2005, we had a vision of bringing the best of Atkins to the benefit of London 2012 to make this the greatest Games ever. We promised our client we had 2,000 professionals within 20 miles of London who right away across the broad spectrum of technical skills Atkins could provide, underpinned by a history of working with clients that were in London. What's pleasing to say after that time is not only through our work on the park, not only through our work on London, with our existing stakeholders and clients, we've been able to bring those 2,000 people, maybe even more, to bear to make this the greatest Games ever.